There are elements that typically don't work together very well, two of which are fire with either water or ice. However, for the setup in today's video, the combination of ice and fire can lead devastating results.
In today's video, I'm going to go over the build for
the budget hybrid Hydra Orb Sorceress, for whom even on a budget is very powerful and allows for better farming access because of her hybrid elemental damages.
I'm going to go over the attributes, the skill tree, the gear for my character and my mercenary, and afterwards I'm going to show you guys some gameplay so you could see this build in action. But do keep in mind that when it comes to this build, there are different ways you can be able to gear the character depending on your needs, whether you're trying to go for maximum DPS, you're trying to do a magic find character, or a hybrid of the two. Just keep in mind when it comes to looking at the gear choices that I'm going to be choosing, that you can choose alternative gear depending on the demand that you have for your build. Now let's go ahead and get into the video.
For the attributes, she has enough points into strength to be able to equip the gear, and all the remaining points go into vitality. For the skill trees, starting with the lightning spells, I put 1 point into static field, telekinesis to be able to unlock teleport to move around easier. Then moving on to the cold spells, I went ahead and maxed out Frozen Orb, as it's not only a great way to be able to slow enemies down and to be able to provide crowd control, but this is the primary source of being able to deal damage with this build. I also put enough points into Cold Mastery to be able to reduce the enemy cold resistance by negative 100%. I also went ahead and maxed out Ice Bolt as it's a synergy for Frozen Orb, and lastly put 1 point into Frozen Armor as it's a great 1-point wonder skill. Last, for the fire spells, I went ahead and maxed out Hydra as this is what I'm going to be using when countering anything that's cold immune, and all the remaining points go into Fire Mastery to be able to boost my fire damage. Something to remember about this build is that she is only at level 75, so there's a lot left to be desired, especially considering this is a hybrid build with different ways to distribute the skill points depending on the priorities within the build.
Now for the gear, when it comes to the concept of a budget build, keep in mind that the items being shown are based on if they are, or sometimes aren't, optimal for the build, despite the item's rarity. There's a reason that so many set and unique items, and even some being treasure class 87 items, never see the light of day aside from Grayling, while some magic and rare items are more optimal and ideal for a build, and sometimes even become mandatory. And on items with a variety of stats that can roll, remember that this is all based on RNG or random number generation, or even better, just dumb luck for certain items to drop, as well as how they can roll.
For the helm, she's using the Rune Word lore. This has plus to skills, energy, and lightning resistance. The amulet is a crafted caster amulet with plus to fire skills, faster cast rate, and all resistance. Though this was created with a higher level character than the one that you're seeing in this video, which is level 75, you can be able to drop an amulet that has either one of the fire skills, faster cast rate, or all resistance stats. Though the faster cast rate brings the level on this character that is beyond overkill, which you'll see later in the additional stats section. However, you can either craft one of these similar amulets yourself, or be able to find an amulet that has the two other aforementioned stats that would be beneficial for this build. If you want to know more on crafting caster amulets, make sure to check out my previously made video where I go over all the details that you need to know about crafting one for yourself. The body armor is stealth for the faster cast rate. The weapon is a spirit rune word paired with the spirit shield. They both have plus to skills, faster cast rate, vitality, mana, and with the shield, you get cold, lightning, and poison resistance. The boots are Alder's Advance for the plus to life and fire resistance. The first ring is a cold resistance ring. The belt is a crafted caster belt for the faster cast rate, but as mentioned earlier, the faster cast rate on this character is at a point of overkill. But I wanted to show off this particular belt to be able to show the potential of what you can get if you were to craft a caster belt for yourself, as you would get additional stats that would be very needed and beneficial for this build. If you want to know more about crafting a caster belt for yourself, make sure to check out my previous video on crafting caster belts where I give you all the information that you'll ever need to know about crafting one for yourself. The second ring is an all resistance ring. The gloves are Mage Fist for the plus to fire skills and faster cast rate. On switch, I have a low resistance wand to be able to help our elemental damage go even further, and I paired that with the Rhyme Rune Word for all resistance, as well as be our source of Cannot Be Frozen. In the inventory is the cube and both tomes, with literally nothing else, to be able to show the potential for how truly budget this build is to still be viable and fun to be able to play within this game. For the additional stats, there's 134% faster cast rate. As mentioned before, it is very overkill for this build. However, I wanted to show different items that have faster cast rate, so that way you can see which ones you would want to prioritize with this build if you wanted to be able to add Magic Find to this build later on, because you can see that there's absolutely no Magic Find on the additional stats. So if you wanted to be able to take off an item that has less faster cast rate, but you can add more Magic Find that way, You'll be able to get the balance that you see fit to be able to have faster cast rate to hit the breakpoint that you would feel comfortable with this build, to be able to also have magic find to be able to hopefully get better items later on while farming and leveling up your character. There's also plus 93% to fire skill damage, as well as negative 100% to enemy cold resistance. For the Mercenary, he is crucial in tying this build together to be successful, as he is the Prayer Mercenary and he's using the Cure Helm for the Cleansing Aura, Treachery for the Fade proc to be able to boost his resistances and additional damage reduction, but what helps tie it all together is the Rumored Insight for the Meditation Aura. Meditation, Cleansing, and Prayer all synergize one another to be able to regenerate our health and my mana to be able to boost our survivability and take what would be a glass cannon build to be able to make it viable and fun all over the areas that she would be able to handle, potentially making farming for better items easier while leveling up.
Now that we've discussed the attributes, the skill trees, the gear for my character and my mercenary, let's go ahead and check out this build in action to see how well it actually plays out. With the gameplay, for anyone who'd be curious as to which player settings I'm using for my build guides, the past, presently on screen, and in the future, down in the bottom left corner is what the example gameplay being shown is currently at.
Despite her resistances being as low as they are, both in regards for a budget build, but also for being in hell difficulty. So long as you play this build safely from a distance, there's not a lot to worry about in regards to survivability. One of my favorite things about this build is, when going into areas such as the Whirlstone Keep, you will run into different enemies with different immunities all at once. So this build became my controlled chaos regarding spamming skills. When coming up to a mob, especially knowing that there's more enemies nearby, I just spam Hydras and launch frozen orbs in the middle of the packs. This way, if I use a skill that one enemy would be immune to, there's another source of elemental damage also being used to hopefully take them out as well. And if lucky, you can aggro over other enemies into the area to utilize the damage being dealt, and clear the area much easier. As mentioned earlier, regarding farming areas like the Whirlstone Keep, as much as I try to use skills that would work to the advantage of dealing damage an enemy isn't immune to, because this is a hybrid setup, in certain parts I would also just spam skills, as this is a glass cannon build, and being overwhelmed by specters, Hell Clan, and Ghoul Lords can lead to the saying, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Not enough
I had a lot of fun with this build. It's a fun mix of fire and cold damage that I tried to balance out evenly, and while being a glass cannon build, could still hold its own, and if needed, would have a fast and easy way to escape danger. This budget build is great, but for those wanting to see more of its potential with endgame gear, make sure to check out my endgame version of this Hydra Orb Sorceress build. She obliterates everything in her path and is an amazing magic find character. I'll have a link to that build guide in the description of this video.
And that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to see if this build would be something that you would be interested in going into the future. And if anything, at least just enjoyed the video. If you like this kind of content, want to see more, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out.
Come on. Come on. Come on, then. There you are. There you are.
And if you like this video, please let me know by leaving a like. It really is appreciated to be able to help my channel to grow. And if you want to see more of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content, make sure to click the card in the corner up above to check out my Diablo 2 Resurrected playlist with a lot of videos already in it, with a lot more coming in the very near future. Other than that, I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.